everyone, so welcome to today's video. Thank you so much for joining me for this second part of the series, Best in Beauty for 2023. So today's video is going to be all about eye products. So I'm going to share with you my favorites, and then I'm going to post a second video that's going to be a tutorial showing you some of these products in action. I feel like that's kind of helpful to also see how the product performs instead of me just showing you a product and talking about it. But these products are just like my standouts from this past year, and I feel like I have some really great recommendations to pass along to you. So we're going to kick things off with eyeshadow palettes. I'm going to start off with eyeshadow palettes that are on the smaller side, so quads and 5-pan palettes that I truly do feel like are just spectacular. So I'm going to start off with my very favorite one in the smaller category of products, and that is my Surratt Quad and Beyond Beige. These colors are just very basic, very everyday, and the formula is really special on this. It's kind of like a silky texture that you can use either wet or dry, and it does give you a really pretty sort of natural eye look, and there is just like an ease of use when it comes to this formula. Now this is one of the more higher end price point products in my stash of eyeshadows, but I absolutely love this palette for every day. When I don't really have an idea in mind for an eyeshadow look, or if I just don't feel like putting on a bunch of different colors or messing with larger palettes, this is the one that I reach for when I'm getting ready to head out the door pretty quickly. This is my go-to. This is my everyday. This is just really special for me because the colors are just so easy to work with. So you have a light champagne, you have this gray color here that's a little bit more on the cooler side, that's great for sort of creating a dimension and look to the eye without being really noticeable. I mean, you see that there's something there, but it creates a very natural looking shadow. Then you have this one down at the bottom, I believe it's called Couvert. I think that's how you pronounce that. But this one is more of like a salmony kind of bronzy shade with a bit of shimmer in it. You have a really dark brown. It looks almost black in the pan, but it is a really deep, rich, dark brown that can be used for smoking out the outer V, crease work. I use it all the time for eyeliner under the lower lash line, and it is my very favorite quad that I have in my collection. So I do think that the price point is a little high, but the formula is really great. The performance is there, and for me, it's just something that I truly do cherish, this little quad. Next up is one that I like just because not only is the brand known for doing really good eyeshadows, but I think it's the tone. For me, a bronze eyeshadow is my go-to. That is my favorite tone to wear, the one that I feel like the most comfortable wearing. And I'm going to have to share with you the NARS Laguna Quad. Now this is one of those limited edition palettes that came out for the summertime this year, but this definitely has those kind of bronzy brown tones. That is truly something that I reach for very, very often. So here you have a kind of series of 4 shadows. This one here that seems lighter in the top corner is more of a champagne, kind of like a topper type of shade. Really like these two here that are more on the kind of shimmery metallic side, where it has like the bronze. This one at the bottom is just a little bit more warm and a little bit more copper, which I think is really pretty. And I love bronze, and I think that it pairs so beautifully with brown eyes. And then you have a matte shade to sort of kind of ground everything and really create a more cohesive look. The last smaller palette that I have absolutely loved, I have to share with you. It's the Natasha Denona Mini Starlette. This has been in my collection for a couple of months. The formula for Natasha Denona, I would have to say, is probably my #1 formula for eyeshadow. The textures, the range of finishes, the formula itself, you get a variety. That's the thing with Natasha Denona. It's a more high-end luxury brand. However, you get a variety of different finishes, from mattes, cream to powders. You get metallics, you get shimmers, you get satiny type shades, you get sparkle, glitter shades, topper type shades. So really this gives you a lot. When you buy her product, you really get a range of different colors, tones, textures. So the amount of looks that you can really do with this is endless. So it has a few different shades. You have some warm shades, you have like some kind of dusty plum shades. So really, really pretty. And this shade in the second pan here is actually really pretty. It's called Galaxia, and it's kind of like a topper type of shade, but it adds such a beautiful sort of wet look to the eye. And you can just kind of pat this on. I would recommend using your finger to sort of dab this over an eyeshadow or just directly onto your lids over a primer. You don't need a primer to make this show up, but it is one of those that has like a very unique feel to it. It feels really creamy, but when you look at it, there is a subtle kind of shift to the sparkle. There's like that peachiness, a little bit of gold, a subtle kind of hint of green kind of sheen to it. a little bit of pink. So it's really, really unique, and that's another thing that I like about Natasha Denona's formula when it comes to the toppers and her glitters. They have such different dimensions, and just so much color goes into that one pan. It's just really beautiful, very eye-catching, very mesmerizing, and the formula is some of the best that I have tried. And I have a couple of her smaller ones, and I really do appreciate the smaller scale, but you're still getting the same quality. So that's a really great place to start. If you haven't experienced Natasha Denona eyeshadows, I would start there. The next smaller palette that I'm going to sort of sneak into this because it truly does perform really well. There's pigment there, they blend well, they wear well, and I have had a more positive experience with this than one of the other larger palettes that I purchased back a couple months ago. I want to say summertime. They came out with a duochrome palette, and it's the ABH Sultry palette. These are the mini versions of the larger ones. So there's two of them, the Sultry and the Modern Renaissance. The Modern Renaissance in full size is still available. However, the full size of Sultry was something that came out, I think 2015, maybe 2016, don't quote me exact on the year, but they no longer make that larger palette. So this is a smaller size of the larger, right? So you have some cool tones, you have the brown, the black for adding a lot of smokiness. For liner, you have three really intensely metallic shadows right through the center, and then this one up here that's a little bit lighter, more of a champagne, that is a more kind of shimmery traditional eyeshadow. And then you have like a kind of slightly yellowish tone tan, and then a really just straight up gray matte eyeshadow. But the formula is really, I think, special. And this one here that looks really silver and very cool tone, when you swatch it in person, if you look at it closely under good lighting, you will see a subtle kind of pink undertone to it. So I think it's really unique. I'm not a silver eyeshadow fan, but this one is really, really pretty. In the inner corner or just all over the lid, it's beautiful. You can do like a sort of like a halo eye, put this in the center of the lid, and then surround it with some of the darker shades, and it can give you a really pretty sort of smoky cool tone look, but you can also do a very pretty holiday look with this too. The next palette is a larger palette, so we're kind of moving into that larger palette category, and this one is the one that I would say I used quite a bit when I first got it, and I'm using it today. That's what I chose to wear for today's eye look. This is the palette that sort of got me out of the everyday basic neutrals type of looks. That is my go-to. It will be my go-to for as long as I live and breathe, okay? Because there's nothing better for me and more exciting than a neutral palette. It's something that I enjoy, something that I get my money's worth, something that I reach for. But this one gives me a little bit of that, but also a little bit of color. And it kind of got me out of the box of using the same sort of tones daily. And it's the Italian Spritz palette from Too Faced. This one has a lot of fun colors. And I did a look that seems very wearable and a little bit softer. If you look at this palette, you will see blue. You may jump straight into these kind of violet-y pink purple shades. This kind of, I call it a strawberry lemonade type of shade because it does remind me of strawberry lemonade. And you have like these bright blues and then this deep blue. So you probably think this is a very sort of colorful palette, and it is. You can do very colorful looks, but today's look, purposefully, I did something a lot softer, a lot more in my wheelhouse of what I feel comfortable wearing. I do think that the formula is super, super special. The mattes blend out beautifully, and the metallic shades in here, they feel quite different than what I had come to expect from Too Faced, which is probably one of the reasons why I feel like this palette is quite unique. There is like a creaminess to these metallics. It almost feels like there's a bit of like a glue or some type of kind of creamy emollient ingredient that they've put into this formula to really make it different. They feel like creams, and you use your finger to apply it, which honestly is the best way to get the best payoff with these. If you use a brush, you're really not going to get the intensity that you see in these pans. So I used my finger today to put the shade called Take Me to Church, which is this one here that's kind of pinky, kind of, it shifts to a little bit of a peachy, kind of rusty, warm tone. I have that all over my lid, and then I took this one here that's one of my favorites. It's called Sin Sin, which is a really intense metallic bronze. I took that and I kind of pressed that on the outer corner of the eye, and then I surrounded some of these sort of neutrally type shades, and then this dark brown that's called Espresso Yourself is what I use on my lower lash line today. Blend it out with a little bit of this peach called Holy Cannoli, and the colors are beautiful. The textures are great. They blend well, and they actually do last all day. I don't have to do any special priming to get these metallics to stick to my eyes or to last throughout the day. And this is just fun. This is my fun palette. When I want to do something different, this is what I go for. The next palette is actually a palette that combines a few different eyeshadows, but I do reach for this specific configuration very, very often. In fact, almost every single weekend when I'm getting ready to go out. This has other key components to my face routine. It's the Laura Geller Baked Full Basics palette. I did recently purchase her newer addition to this sort of palette style of products, so I will be doing a video on that coming up soon. But this one has some of her well-known baked products for face, but it also has 3 of her baked eyeshadow formulas. And I wanted to highlight the formula specifically for the eyeshadows. They're so easy to work with, and they do just look just so seamless and creamy on the eyes when you put them on. They just sort of glide onto the eyes. They're easy to work with. They don't sort of create fallout. I think it's because of that baked formula. They kind of have like a rounded, domed shape to them. And they wear so well, and they perform great with a regular crease brush, eyeshadow brushes. They're easy to transfer from product to lids. But the formula, I think, is just really different. It reminds me a lot of like the IT Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes that I used to love way back years ago. I do feel like the formula is very mature skin friendly. That's what I would say about this formula from Laura Geller. It's just easy to use. It's smooth, it's creamy, it's seamless, and the blend is just, I don't have to work with these. And I think that's why I reach for this palette so much on the weekends when I'm trying to get ready really quickly to head out, because I have 4 kids. I don't have time to sit here and do a full face of makeup that takes me an hour like I do when I film. So I reach for this formula often because I can do it with my eyes closed. And the same thing goes for my other palette that I showed you earlier, the Surratt. I can do this literally with my kids around me and just quickly slap this on, and it's going to be perfect every time, which is another reason why I love this quad so much. So the same thing goes for this Laura Geller formula. I think it's just easy, it's user-friendly, it's quick, it's easy, and it streamlines the process of getting ready. Okay, so the next palette, and my final palette, this is the palette that I would say is the palette of 2023. It's my number 1. It is absolutely everything, and you will see this palette in the demo video that comes up in the next couple of days for my favorites for eyes in action, like a demo of all the products, or as many as I can put on my eyes. So the number 1 palette is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude. I told you earlier when we were talking about the smaller palette that her formula is some of the best, my number 1, and it really is. So this palette, I'm sure you've seen this, you may already own it. It is actually a palette that has your everyday basics, your neutrals, your cool tones, and then there's like a splash of warmth with these kind of peachy tones. The variety of textures, finishes, the number of looks that I can create with this is truly endless. I have some topper shades if I want to do something with more glitter. I have some very basic staple colors just to do a very simple look. I have a color that I can use for smoky eyes or for eyeliner, which is the shade called Silhouette, and that is a matte dark brown. And then I get my bronze, yes, you see, and it has everything in there. Like, this palette truly is just me to a T, and that is why I use this so much. And honestly, I can't get enough of it. The formula is just spectacular. And one of the things that sort of stood out to me from this brand is the fact that once I finish and do my complete eye look, when I go to take my makeup off 8, 9, 10 hours later, it still looks the exact same. So the longevity is there. It doesn't fade, it doesn't migrate, it doesn't move. It literally stays on all day, and it looks beautiful from the start of your day to the end of your day, and the fallout is almost non-existent. Like, she has a very, very special formula. So if you have not tried her larger palettes, these are the midi palettes. So you see this configuration here. You can definitely get some other ones. She has like a bronzy tone. She has the Glam palette, which was my very first midi palette. The Yucca palette, which is more green and more kind of fall-like, which I also have and enjoy as well. And then the My Dream is a great, also another option for this brand if you're looking for different kind of colors. It would be nice if she could do maybe like a 5-pan palette like this for this palette. For those that don't want something so large like this one and would rather have a 5-pan, maybe that will be coming up in the new year, who knows. But this is really just so special. So it's my number 1, my absolute number 1, and I 1000% recommend it. So now we get to move into the categories of cream eyeshadows, and I just have a few just random ones that I pulled to show you the product and the brand so you can get an idea of what the product looks like. So I'm going to start this off with the Charlotte Tilbury. These are the Eyes to Mesmerize. Charlotte Tilbury is probably one of my most favorite, if not my favorite, high-end brand. The Eyes to Mesmerize is a beautiful formula for cream eyeshadows. This one in particular I just pulled out of my drawer to show you what the packaging looks like is the Pillow Talk one, which is really a pretty kind of coppery pink tone. It looks more warm in person than it does online. Online it looks a little bit more pink, but I actually think I prefer this versus a lighter sort of light pink tone. There's something really beautiful about this color, but the formula itself is like a creamy kind of whipped texture, and it lasts all day. You do get so much product in this little jar. I do like the new shade. I think it's called Oyster, I believe. It used to be called Marie Antoinette, so they have new names to them now. But the Oyster shade was the very first one that I've ever experienced. And the other one that I also really like from my drawer I just pulled out is called the Exaggerize. And this one is one that has just some more kind of sparkly kind of glitter. I'm just going to go ahead and show you because that's the least exciting product is primer. But this is the MAC Painterly Paint Pot. I love this. I use this every single day that I do my eyeshadow. And what makes this different than regular primers is the fact that there is a little bit of pigment to this to help sort of cancel out and sort of tone down any redness, discoloration, help tone down the look of veins, because my skin is so fair. You do see a lot of veining, a lot of redness. Any little imperfection is more noticeable. So having something like this as like a base to start is really great because it helps sort of tone down any discoloration, the redness. If my eyes just look a little bit more irritated for whatever reason, I can put a little bit of this on and go right over it with the cream shadows or the powders, or just nothing at all, because this does have a sort of color to it. And it is more of a kind of cool tone, kind of like flesh tone color. So I will show you up close what that looks like there. Another special thing to note with the MAC Painterly or the MAC Paint Pots. I keep saying Painterly Paint Pot. Painterly is the color. It's the paint pots. You can actually get some of these in different colors. So it kind of does like a 2-for-1 where it kind of primes, prevents the creasing, but it also has some color. There's different options that you can choose from. Matte ones, shimmery ones, so they do have options. I just use Painterly every day. So my last cream eyeshadow in a glass jar is this one from Victoria Beckham. This is the Lid Luster in the shade called Chiffon. I only have one of these, and I do like the packaging. It's a glass jar, a beautiful lid, and the VB logo on the top. Very expensive looking and feeling, very luxurious. It comes with like a little lid to keep it from drying out. But what I like about this is that this color, one, can be used on its own, and I will show you up close what it looks like. It's a pretty kind of champagne with a touch of pink to it, so this is great to use just lightly dabbed all over the lids, all the way up to the crease area if you wanted to. I've done that before, just this with some eyeliner, but I also like using this as a topper to an eyeshadow. So let's just say I want to do something a little bit more fun, maybe elevate that sparkle, but keep it very sophisticated looking. This is the one. This gives you that sort of glitter feel without seeing visible pieces of glitter on the eyes. Not everybody likes that look, and that's perfectly understandable because glitter can be pretty intense depending on the formula. And sometimes you have like bigger particles and pieces of glitter, and that may not be everyone's cup of tea. So this gives you that sort of wash of color because there is some color to this actual formula, and I will show you here on the back of my hand. You can see that it's a really pretty soft champagne. It gives a very pretty sort of wet look if you add a lot. Now I did swatch this pretty heavily, but if I wanted to do a topper, I just literally take my fingers and just kind of tap to pick up just a bit of that. And then what I do is I do a tapping motion right over whatever eyeshadow I have on my lids already, or if this is going on just this on its own, I just do a light tapping motion. And what I'm going to do by that tapping motion is I'm going to deposit those really small particles of that glitter because it does have that sheen to it, but it gives a very soft sort of ethereal kind of finish to the eye where it looks slightly kind of wet and glittery, but it's not big pieces that are chunky. There's no fallout. You don't have glitter particles at the end of the day under your eyes. It really does stay in place, but it does add like a special little twist to any eye look. And then I have to share with you my Bobbi Brown Longwear eyeshadow sticks. These are the Longwear cream shadow sticks. The one that I picked out of my drawer to show you the packaging is the shade called Golden Bronze, which is probably my most used out of my collection. This one is, it stays on, so beware, okay? When you put this on, it will stay on. It does not crease, it doesn't budge. I can use it with primer, without primer. These are the sticks that I take with me when I go on vacation. On our yearly summer vacation, I use stick shadows because it's easy. It's quick. I can get done with a few minutes and head out the door so I can maximize my time wherever we're taking our trip and not really spend a lot of time doing elaborate eye looks. So this, I'm going to show you here how easy it is. You just kind of light pressure, and you will have the most beautiful color. This shade here called Golden Bronze is just absolutely perfection. I also like the Laura Mercier ones. The Caviar Sticks, those are very similar, but these have a little bit of playtime, which I think is really great, but you have to sort of work quickly. And my recommendation with these, if you're going to use it and smudge it out to create an eyeshadow look, is to work one eye at a time. So scribble it on and then blend with a finger or a brush and then go and do the next eye. If you scribble on and then do the other eye and then come back to blend, you may have a little bit of difficulty with that because they do set. It's a Longwear formula that is meant to be in place, locked into the skin, and it's going to stay on. And I use an oil-based cleanser to remove this at the end of the day. But this sort of color just looks absolutely beautiful. This as liner or as just a one shadow look with some mascara is incredible. So if you haven't tried these, now is the time. Liquid liners. Let's talk about some of my favorite liquid liners. The first one is the Benefit They're Real Extreme Precision Liner. I discovered this last year, and I believe this is probably the second time that I'm mentioning this in a Best in Beauty videos for my annual series. This liner is incredibly rich, very black, very intense. And what I love about this is that I can really draw a very thin line. I can also thicken it. It's very easy to use. But what I like to do with this is take an angled brush and kind of smudge out the edge. So it looks a little bit more smoky, not such a distinctive drawn on line. So it gives a very smoky effect. But what's different about this versus other ones that I've done that same technique with is that this retains that intensity, that really rich dark black pigment, which is what I like. And this color, I will show you. A swatch. It is very, very rich. And it really just glides so seamlessly on the skin, and it just looks so pretty. And this would be the perfect eyeliner to sort of blend your false lashes into your natural lash with a very thin line to disguise the lash band. This is the liner that I would recommend for that. And then my other one is actually a drugstore option, and it's the NYX Epic Ink Liners. This one specifically is black. I am wearing this right now. This is truly the easiest liner. I think it's even easier than Benefit, and here's what. I can literally just drag this right across my lash line, and it is truly impossible to mess up. Like it's one of those eyeliners that just kind of wowed me because I am not the best when it comes to liner. My hands are not the most steady. So when I do liner, I've always just done pencil liner or eyeshadow for liner. And if I do liquid liner, it was always kind of one would come out really nice, the other one was a little too thin or too thick or too bumpy, too jagged, and then I have to go and fix it, and it's just a hassle. So it was just something that I just completely eliminated from my routine until I discovered the Benefit one. But then when I decided to try this one that has really good ratings online, I can see why people love this. I can literally draw a line and it comes out perfect every single time. I have yet to mess this up, so I bought another one. I have a backup. Pencil liners, I have two formulas to show you and to talk about briefly: the Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal Liner and the Makeup by Mario. These have been my favorites the entire year. These are the ones that I use pretty consistently daily. If I'm not using one of my liquid liners, this is the liner formula that I'm going to use. The Makeup by Mario, I have the black and the Perfect Brown. Two shades that I think are staples. This one does come with a smudgy kind of brush tip applicator, which is different and unique, but I like the formula to sort of tight line, and I think that what makes it special is that when I do tight line, it stays on, and I don't have transfer coming down to my lower waterline. So I'm not one to use liner on my lower inner rim. I very rarely do that, and I just feel like when I do that, it kind of closes off my eyes a little too much, so I just do the tight lining on my upper lash line, and the Makeup by Mario in black is the one that I use every single day for that, and I'm not even considering changing that to anything else because it's just a rich black formula that stays on, glides on like butter. Let me just show you a swatch of that. Do you see that? Yep. It's rich, it's intense, and it stays on. The brown, the Perfect Brown, is literally the Perfect Brown. And then the Satin Kajal from Victoria Beckham is also another very easy to use formula. Super buttery. The one that I have here is Cocoa, and I love using this. Again, I will do a swatch here. If I can see in the viewfinder here, I will do a swatch. You can see just how easy. The lightest amount of pressure is all you need for both of these formulas. They're creamy, they're rich, they're luxurious feeling. The Victoria Beckham comes with a kind of smudgy foam sort of tip that you can sort of smudge this out, and I do use that from time to time. If I am going to smudge it, I will use like an angled brush, like something like this. I even use my finger. I smudged that. I did that over the weekend. I smudged it and I kind of made it a little bit thick so it kind of looked like shadow, and then I just did mascara, and I didn't even do any actual eyeshadow for the day. So a great formula. I absolutely love the Victoria Beckham eyeliners, and I do want to pick up some more shades because I do think that it's really special. Okay, so I think the last sort of category here to talk about is mascara, okay? Let's start with the one that I'm wearing now. It's the Tower 28 Make Waves Mascara. This mascara, I've been using it every single day for the last 2 months. Mine is literally about to go into my empties, and I need to repurchase this formula. I absolutely love how it gives me length, volume, thickness, and it just makes my lashes look fanned out. It just makes my lashes look like I have individual lashes. Now, my formula is a little bit dry. I will say that the formula does dry out sooner than other mascaras. It's one that I can use for my top lashes and my bottom lashes. There's never clumps. I never have where my lashes are gathering and I'm left with like 2 lashes. I do feel like the formula is really great. It has a curved wand, so it does kind of hug the shape of my eye really nicely so that I can really comb through each lash and really sort of get the formula evenly applied from inner to outer corner, and it builds nicely. I will say the sweet spot with this mascara is 2 coats. The other mascaras that I really like is the Pillow Talk from Charlotte Tilbury. This tube specifically, I just pulled it out of my empties because I'm saving it for my next empties video. This mascara is incredible. I have the super black shade. It gives me everything that I'm looking for in a mascara. It checks every single box, and I will show you maybe there. So you see how it's kind of flat in the very center, and then it's surrounded by smaller bristles, tiny short bristles, and it kind of gets a little larger as it's going to the base of the wand. So that flat part is what deposits the most formula. Then you can turn it on its side and use the little comb side to sort of break that through the lashes, really separate that formula, really get intense lashes. This gives me a false lash effect. So that is the one thing that I absolutely love about this. And I also like how rich and intense the tone of black is and how dark it makes my lashes. That's what I like. I like a really dark, rich mascara, and this is it. And I absolutely love this mascara. The other mascara that I wanted to talk about is the Tartelette tubing mascara. I will put like an insert clip here. I did recently purchase a brand new tube of it, and I just keep my new products separate so that they don't get opened or used until it's time. Specifically with mascaras, I don't have many open at once. So the Tartelette tubing mascara is the one that I feel like truly has just sort of gotten me sort of more curious about tubing formulas. Tubing formulas tend to be easier to remove when you take them off at night. It's just little tubes, little kind of like little black little bits that come off when you add water or cleanser or some type of makeup remover. Whereas traditional mascaras, when you get them wet, you see that kind of like black inky formula that just kind of starts dripping down your face, gives you that sort of crazy raccoon eyes. You don't get that with tubing mascaras. So they're great for those who have allergies, for those who have runny eyes, or if you're going to like a wedding. For me, I wore it when I gave birth to my son, and it stayed in place just beautifully. It didn't even flake or smudge. So that's when I knew I found a winner. And it is really great. It's a nice, pretty lavender tube, and it really does give me that false eyelash effect. And it kind of gives me a very similar vibe to the Pillow Talk in terms of the way it makes my lashes look. But the formula is different because Tarte is tubing. The Charlotte is not. So it kind of gives you some options there. And that, my friends, is all of my favorite eye products for the year of 2023. I have some really great products, and I really hope that you found this video helpful. If you try any products that I recommended, please come back and share with me your thoughts, your opinions, how did it work out for you. And I really do hope that you love them just as much as I do. And as always, I encourage you to share your favorites in the comment section. I always love hearing from you guys. Product recommendations, send them my way. Stay tuned because we're going to be doing the next part of this series, which is my favorite lip products. Then I may do a drugstore version of my Best in Beauty because I do have some drugstore gems that I absolutely love. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe so you don't miss out when those videos get posted. And also hit that notification bell so you get notified when a video gets posted on the channel. I post every Tuesday and every Friday. And you can also follow me on Instagram. We can be friends there. Pops up here on the screen. I look forward to seeing you there, connecting with you. And I appreciate you so much for being here, for watching today's video. Take care, you guys, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye-bye.